Ever catch yourself wondering if maybe the language you speak is actually like messing with how you think?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what we're diving into today.
Oh, wow.
The idea that language, isn't just some tool for communication,
Right.
but it like shapes how we see reality.
Yeah.
So we're going to be checking out this guy, Benjamin Lee Whorf,
Okay. Yeah.
a linguist who was all about how the structure of a language really influences how its speakers understand the world.
I see.
Get ready, because we're about to unpack some seriously thought-provoking stuff
Okay.
from an excerpt of his writing. And to help us out, we've got some insights from the foreword written by John B. Carroll.
Sounds good.
All right, so Whorf's main argument
Yeah.
is that language doesn't just express thought, it shapes it.
So it's like kind of active.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine wearing glasses with colored lenses.
Okay.
Everything you see is tinted by that color, right?
Right.
So Whorf's saying language is like those lenses, filtering our experience and influencing how we see the world.
Interesting.
So it's not just about the words themselves,
Right.
but the whole system of grammar and structure that comes with them.
Exactly. Whorf really believed that science was reaching a point, like a frontier, where it couldn't ignore this power of language to, shape reality.
That was a big deal.
It is. He saw it as like a challenge for scientists to really grapple with.
Okay, but how does that even work?
Yeah.
How can language have such a big impact on our thought?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Whorf brings up this idea of a higher mind.
Higher mind.
Yeah. Which sounds kind of mysterious, right?
It does, a little bit.
He describes it as this level of thought that's, well, unconscious and operates with these sophisticated patterns, almost like a hidden code.
So, like, there's this whole other level of thinking happening in our brains.
That's what he's suggesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And he thinks this higher mind uses the patterns of language to actually shape our thoughts.
Wow.
He even connects it to stuff like mantra yoga,
Really?
where specific sounds and patterns are used to tap into different states of consciousness.
That makes me think of how sometimes certain words or phrases, they just have this power to bring back strong emotions or memories.
Absolutely.
Like, I might hear a song lyric and suddenly I'm back in a specific time and place.
Yeah.
And I don't even fully get why.
That's the power of language working on a deeper level.
Totally.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Words themselves, they don't have like fixed meanings.
Oh, interesting.
Their meaning comes from the larger context, the sentence, the grammar, the whole system.
So it's all connected.
Exactly. Whorf uses some really interesting examples to show this.
Like what?
Well, he talks about the word bar.
Okay, yeah.
All its different meanings, like an iron bar or a bar to progress or being behind bars.
Right.
The word itself doesn't give you the whole picture.
I see. It's about how it's used.
Exactly. And you know what?
Right.
Even scientific terms, which we often think of as super precise,
Yeah.
they're not immune to this either. Think about the word force in physics.
Okay.
It has a definition, but how we understand it can change depending on the situation.
So even the most, objective words can have these layers of meaning
Exactly.
that we might not even realize.
Right.
That's pretty deep.
It is. And it gets even more complex when we look at, say, poetry or emotional language,
Okay.
where words can trigger a whole range of feelings and associations.
I get that.
Like take the phrase stardust, for example. What comes to mind when you hear that?
Stardust. I guess I picture like a vast, sparkling galaxy.
Right. And for you, what feeling does that evoke?
It's definitely a sense of awe and wonder.
I see. And someone else might have a totally different reaction.
True.
The point is, the meaning isn't fixed. It's created in that interaction between the words and our minds.
So we're not just passive receivers of language.
Right.
We're actively creating meaning as we use it.
Exactly. It's this dynamic system.
This is making me see language in a whole new way.
That's the exciting part, recognizing that fluidity.
Yeah.
But that interplay can also have some, shall we say, unexpected results.
Like what?
Well, Whorf tells this amusing story about, get this, coon cats.
Coon cats? What's a coon cat?
Well, they were actually Persian cats.
Oh, okay.
But because of their name and how they looked, people actually thought they were a mix of cat and raccoon.
Wait, seriously?
Seriously.
So just because they were called coon cats, people started seeing raccoon features?
Exactly. They'd focus on things like the bushy tails
Okay.
or the long hair.
Yeah.
convincing themselves these cats had raccoon ancestry.
Which isn't even possible, right?
And not biologically, no.
So their language, the name coon cat,
Right.
actually influenced what they saw.
Precisely. This shows how language can sometimes, trick us into seeing things that aren't really there.
That's kind of freaky, to be honest.
It is a bit, isn't it?
If language can do that, what else about how we see things might be shaped by the way we speak?
Now, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it leads us to some of Whorf's most fascinating observations.
Oh, wow.
About languages that challenge how we typically understand time.
Whoa. There are languages that see time differently.
Oh, there are, and it's amazing.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
All right, let's start with Chichewa, a language spoken in East Africa.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. Chichewa has two distinct past tenses.
Two past tenses. I'm intrigued.
One is for events that still have consequences in the present, and the other is for events that are totally in the past, no impact on now.
Whoa. That's like built into the grammar.
It is. Imagine a language that actually separates those out grammatically.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if speaking a language like that could change how people think about cause and effect,
Absolutely.
or the consequences of their actions.
It's a profound thought.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. I need a second to process this.
Take your time. We've got a lot more to unpack. Ready to dive in deeper?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about languages that, challenge how we think about time and space.
Right. We were just looking at how Chichewa makes a distinction between past events that have a present impact versus those that are just in the past.
Yeah.
But let's hop over to North America and check out the Hopi language.
Hopi?
Yeah. Now get this. Hopi doesn't even have separate words for past, present, and future.
No way. How do they even talk about time then?
Instead of those linear divisions of time, Hopi grammar focuses more on the validity of statements and where the knowledge comes from. For instance, to express that someone went to the store yesterday, a Hopi speaker might say something like, "It is reported that he went to the store."
Whoa. That's so different from how we say it in English.
It is.
We'll just say, he went to the store yesterday. Done deal, past tense.
Right.
But in Hopi, it's like they're emphasizing the evidence.
Exactly. Hopi grammar highlights the speaker's connection to the information, rather than putting things on a timeline.
So in Hopi, saying, I saw him go to the store would be stronger than just saying he went to the store.
You got it, because you're stating your source of knowledge directly.
That's interesting. Makes you wonder how their view of history is different.
Right. It's a question that's still being explored.
Yeah.
But it really highlights how these different linguistic systems can offer unique ways of conceptualizing reality.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Even for something as basic as time.
Exactly.
This is seriously blowing my mind. But earlier you said Whorf didn't think some languages were better than others.
Right. He really pushed back against that idea.
So is he saying there's no such thing as a superior language?
That's the gist of it. Whorf saw all languages as these complex systems of thought, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. He was totally against calling any language primitive.
I see.
Emphasizing that each language reflects the history, culture, and environment of its speakers.
So instead of ranking languages, we should be appreciating how different they are.
Exactly. Diversity in language is a testament to how amazing and complex human thought is.
Yeah.
What matters is seeing how these differences can help us understand the world and ourselves better.
I like that. And this all ties back to Whorf's idea of the higher mind, right?
It does.
That we all have this capacity for complex thought.
Right, even if it's expressed differently.
And you mentioned the Algonquin obviative before. Can you give me an example of where that would be useful?
Okay, so imagine you're a lawyer drafting a contract. In English, you have to use these clunky phrases like the party of the first part to keep everyone straight. But in Algonquin languages, you could just use the obviative.
Oh, interesting.
To refer to someone less central to the agreement. Makes things much clearer and more concise.
So instead of all that legal jargon,
right,
you could just use this special pronoun.
Exactly. It highlights how different languages offer different solutions for these kinds of challenges.
Yeah. Even in specialized fields.
Absolutely.
This is making me rethink how I see language. So if all languages are valuable
right,
and offer different perspectives,
yeah,
what does that mean for education?
Now, that's a great question. Imagine classrooms where students not only learn languages,
Yeah.
but also learn how those languages categorize the world, see time, structure relationships.
So instead of just memorizing words and rules, they're learning how to think like speakers of those languages.
Exactly. It could help them develop more flexible and critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
And see beyond their own cultural and linguistic biases.
I love that. But what about just regular communication?
Right.
If our languages shape our thoughts so much,
Yeah.
can we really understand someone who speaks a different language?
Well, Whorf didn't think different languages created these huge, impossible barriers.
Okay.
He saw the challenge as a chance for deeper understanding. It takes being willing to step outside your own linguistic framework.
Yeah.
And trying to see the world from their perspective.
So it's more than just translating words.
Yes.
It's like translating ways of thinking.
Exactly.
But how do we even start to do that?
It starts with recognizing that communication isn't just about exchanging information. It's about building bridges between different ways of experiencing the world.
I see.
Appreciating that there are multiple ways to see things.
Yeah.
And those differences can enrich our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener for me. I'm starting to see language not just as a tool for communication, but as something that can help me grow and change.
You're getting it. That's the power of Whorf's ideas.
Yeah.
He challenged us to see language not as fixed, but as this dynamic force that shapes our minds and our realities.
This is all pretty exciting, but also a little overwhelming.
I can see that. Where do we even begin to apply this in our daily lives?
Right. That's what I'm wondering.
It starts with simple awareness. Pay attention to the words you use, both in your head and out loud. Notice how those choices reflect your assumptions and how they shape how you see things. Try to find new ways of expressing familiar ideas.
So instead of just talking on autopilot,
Right.
I should be more mindful of the language I'm using.
It's about cultivating that curiosity about language.
Yeah,
A willingness to question what we take for granted
I like that.
and explore different ways of seeing the world.
This whole conversation has really changed how I think about language.
And I'm glad to hear that.
I'm seeing it not just as a way to talk, but as this powerful force for change.
That's the beauty of Whorf's work. He saw that potential, ready to explore those implications even further.
Oh yeah, let's dive in. Okay, so we've seen how language can really shape our thoughts and even how we see the world.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So now I'm wondering if we can become more aware of this influence, can we actually use that to change how we think?
That's a great question, and it's really at the core of what Whorf was getting at.
Okay.
He believed that by studying language and getting to know its hidden structures,
Yeah.
we could actually become more conscious of those unconscious patterns.
Right, those patterns that shape how we think.
Exactly.
It's like shining a light on those mental shortcuts and biases we all have.
Right, the ones we often don't even realize are there.
Exactly.
But bringing them out into the open,
Yeah.
we can start to question them, challenge them, maybe even change them.
So it's not like we're trapped in some rigid linguistic box.
No, not at all.
We actually have the power to reshape that box.
Exactly.
To expand how we think and break free from those limiting patterns.
Think of it this way.
Okay?
Learning a new language is like adding a new tool to your mental toolbox.
I like that.
Each language gives you different ways to categorize information, express relationships, even see the world.
That's making me think about how I sometimes struggle to find the right words.
Yeah.
To explain a complex feeling or idea.
I get that.
Maybe I need to expand my linguistic toolbox.
Maybe so. But remember, it's not just about learning new words.
Okay.
It's about understanding the logic, the worldview that's built into each language.
Right. It's deeper than just the vocabulary.
Exactly. By engaging with different linguistic systems,
Yeah.
we can challenge the assumptions we have from our own language.
I see.
And open up these whole new ways of thinking and understanding.
This is so cool, but it's also kind of daunting.
I know what you mean.
Where do we even begin to use this in our everyday lives?
It starts with just paying attention to the words you use, both internally and when you speak. Notice how your language choices show your assumptions and how they shape what you see. Challenge yourself to find new ways to express familiar ideas.
So instead of just talking without thinking,
Right.
I should be more conscious of the language I'm using.
It's about cultivating a sense of curiosity about language.
Yeah.
A willingness to question the things we just take for granted.
It makes sense.
And explore different ways of seeing the world.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
I'm glad to hear it.
I'm really starting to see language not just as a way to communicate, but as this powerful force for personal growth and transformation.
That's the beauty of Whorf's work. He really pushed us to see that.
Yeah.
He challenged us to see language not as static, but as this dynamic force shaping our minds and our realities.
This has been an amazing journey.
It has been quite a deep dive.
So much to think about and explore. Any final thoughts for our listeners as they continue their own linguistic adventures?
Remember, language is alive. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Embrace its diversity, explore its hidden depth, and never underestimate its power.
Those are words to live by.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into language, mind, and reality.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.